When replacing your springs, shocks, or struts, you may encounter a problem which I encountered as well. And that is, once you rebuild the strut, you have the new springs, new shocks, whatever, you put the whole assembly in and you secure it to the chassis using these 4 bolts. And that's fine, but there's one bolt left you have to torque down, and that's this middle one right here. And that's the one that goes straight to the shock. And the problem is, as soon as you try to torque this down, the whole assembly just starts to move. So I have the quarter panel here off, and you can take a look. And so what happens is, when you try to torque down that nut, the whole spring and shock assembly just turns. It won't let you torque it down. It'll just turn instead. There's 2 options you can use to overcome this problem. Number 1 is to lower the car down into the wheels and sit right here, right on the quarter panel, and put your weight down. And this will compress the spring and cause a greater friction between the spring and the upper strut mount. That way you can torque it down a little bit. But you may not be heavy enough to apply enough force downwards to create enough friction. So the other option is to lift the car up onto blocks, which I have right here, remove the wheel, and what you do is put your floor jack underneath this whole strut assembly and just push it upwards, and this compresses the spring, and that creates a greater force between the spring and the strut assembly here on the upper surface, so that when you torque down this nut, it won't spin anymore. You can actually torque it down to the proper 49 Newton meters. So those are the 2 options. I'm finding this one to be a little bit easier, especially if you already have the car all up on blocks. But if you have the car on your wheels, try sitting on it instead. You just want to create as much friction force between the spring and the upper strut mount, and you do this by compressing the spring. Good luck.